here.
Okay.
Live starting.
It says live video starting. We're not very... Okay. Now it says we're live, I guess. I've only done this on my phone before, and I'm on the computer right now, and we're just trying to figure this out.
So bear with us.
But we should be able to see comments over here if anybody does join us. So, all right. So I'm Jillian. For those of you that haven't met me in person yet, or aren't on, Facebook friends with me yet for years, nice to meet you.
I'm Michael.
This is Michael, my husband, and as also practice for, we're planning on going live in The Way, which is the group that we have that's free to everybody. So if you're not in that group already, please join it. I posted the link in the chat. And add people that are interested in joining, because that's where we're going to start giving out like the information of who we are, what we're all about, especially once we get all the bylaws and such established. People that are interested in becoming board members that please direct them there, and we can kind of like sort of meet and greet with them and nominate them up here. So far everybody's pretty much been somebody that either Wes or I know. Before we get everything like established legally, that's one of the things that we want to do is, make sure everybody knows what we're doing, that it's a good fit, that they understand what started all of this, what this is all about, what we're looking for in church elders, why we're calling ourselves a church, how we're different from any other, Christian church that you would think of. However, a lot of our views are based on what we have come to believe is Christ consciousness, and what even the I'm not sure if you've seen the chat earlier in The Way I was having with one of you, and I posted it in there with consent, of course, to further the conversation. They were concerned about use of certain words, and very understandably so, because we're unifying a lot of different belief systems here under one big umbrella. So there's going to be a lot of people having questions coming in, and that's one of the things that us as elders need to have a really, really good handle on, what exactly we're doing, and how to answer those questions for people. So that begins with the beginning, and that would be how all of this got started. And very, very briefly, Michael was born in 1965, and he was raised for the first 10 years. So
I was born in 1965. I would describe basically a normal, considering circumstances, childhood. Parents divorced when I was probably 11, 10, somewhere around there. Anyways, ended up coming to Minnesota and went through the gamut, never finished high school, had to work for everything, and just always felt out, never fitting. I know a lot of people later in life, I've learned, have the same feeling. And it's something that's missing, but you're not sure what it is. And hindsight's always 20/20. So as we progress in life, we look back and we see the blessings and the lessons. And the lessons are hard to acknowledge. And a lot of that didn't happen, although I thought it had happened. My acknowledgement of it all never really happened until I met my wife, Jillian. And we started on this path of, lack of a better word, ascension, learning. We cover a lot. We are not pigeonholed and cornered into one typical like Christian belief or a single denomination. We believe, like Yeshua traveled to India. He learned with the Essenes. I mean, there's thousands of assets to everything. That's where learning with my wife, the door was opened up to not only acknowledging a lot of things from our pasts as individuals, me and specifically, and healing from those things, excuse me, but also, how do I say, the door got kicked open. It wasn't very subtle, and that started where we are today. I've been through like everything my wife and thousands and millions of other people have been through. I've been through drug addiction. I've been through really, really shitty life choices. That were I take ownership of it. We all do. We contributed to our own problems, and broken marriages, and I come from a broken home. And through all that, we all have, as human beings, that one common denominator. And that's love. Pure, untarnished love. And it starts, my wife says it all the time, it starts with ourselves. And once it starts from there, we expand. But it has to start within yourself. And every day is a learning. And that's what has brought us to where we are today, is a lot of lessons learned. And we could go on for hours about this, on various aspects of it. But that's where the door really got kicked open for this whole thing, was learning with my wife.
Right. Well, I'm Jillian Devana Rogers, born in 1977. My upbringing was, well, I came from the second husband of a malignant narcissist mother. She was raised Catholic, graduated from Bethlehem Academy here in Faribault, and she just never wanted to be a mom. I came from an affair that my dad was having on his wife, and it just was born into a really shit situation. I was I went to Sunday school when I was younger. Never really literally came home from Sunday school one day when they were trying to teach us creationism, and I just remember telling my mom that there was no missing link because the aliens came down and made us better. I mean, I've always had a really strange mind. I thought differently, but to my mother's credit, the few things I can credit her for, she never, talked me away from any of the things that I felt like I was crazy for. She believed in alien entities. She believed in spiritual things, as in mediums and psychic abilities and metaphysical things, a lot of those beliefs were the same, and she was actually a very accepting person as far as gender equality and all the LGBT, the alphabet mafia is what I like to call it, because it just incorporates everybody, that just just is about loving one another as far as we're concerned. Now, how she went from all that outlook to being a judgmental B word when it comes to her own child, I don't know, but she, again, was the narcissist. But it never was in relation to religion matters, I will say that. She had fallen away from the church by the time I was grown up, because she saw the hypocrisy in it. So I had a really shitty childhood after she divorced my first dad. Well, even, growing up, I went through molestation from family members. I went through my first abusive relationship at the age of 14. And it just really never got better from there. I had no support from my family ever, because they were the ones doing the most damage. I ended up a mother at 16 and living on my own, and getting married at 20ish and having 2 more babies, my twin boys, and pretty much being a single mom from the time I was 16. I died when I was 18. I didn't see shit. So, needless to say, I was not really a believer. I tried going back to church when my 3 older kids were little. I actually became a member of Concordia Lutheran Church in Red Wing, Minnesota. I actually really enjoyed my pastor there, who would read us scripture about mainly Jesus, and then set the book aside and relate it to our lives today. And I actually learned a lot, got a lot out of that. But becoming part of a membership of that church, and being a teacher's aide for the kindergarten class, and watching the bureaucracy and the hypocrisy of the church was just not about love. It was not about what I believed God to be. Makes me sad even thinking about about all I went through leaving that church, and just really falling away, and just having that pedestal just finally crushed and broken. And for a very long time I hated God, and I hated anything having to do with the Christian church, and I hated what they tried to teach us. It just didn't match up with being so judgmental of people and making people's worth about how much money they had, or what status they had in life, because it just never felt right to me. In childhood, I had studied Wicca. That also didn't feel quite right, but the witchy part of it appealed to me. Communing with nature and the natural healing elements, the white witch parts of it, and I came to realize that witchcraft was heavily ingrained in society all around, and really wasn't anything to do with what we were taught, which also brought out more hypocrisy in the church for me. And around 2008ish, I ended up watching a movie called Zeitgeist, which totally destroyed my illusion. It pointed out all of the ways in which the church had manipulated the story and created this character called Jesus Christ. And there are a lot of elements that were created around this character that were obviously borrowed from other deities, or maybe not quite accurate, or not described accurate, or what have you. I don't know, but I just was like, I've been lied to my whole life. Fuck this shit. Quite honestly. And a lot of it made sense astrologically, and why that would be interpreted into story, and all of that, you know. Things started to just really be broken. And then I started to study into the Bible and how that got written, and I just was done with it, and really split from any part of my family I was still connected to, because I was just like, fuck this. So, to go from the kind of person that I was, I just want you really to understand the background, because I know a lot of people are coming into this, they're going to be apprehensive about the whole religious aspect. People have been already asking questions about that. And I totally get it, because religious trauma is a thing. Especially in America, and people use it as a justification for horrible treatment, and that's one thing that we are adamantly against. Just so you're aware, first and foremost, our foundation is you know, love above all is the most powerful energy in the universe. That is what source is, but you know, when you think of God, when I say God, you know, I don't picture a deity. I don't want people thinking that it's anything like that. And our belief system about it does involve, and why we're legally a church, it all plays into part because, well, of my awakening. So I will kind of fast forward you a little bit to the last, 3 years or so, roughly. Throughout all of the BS that Michael and I have been through in our lives, as he mentioned, we both still, you know, I didn't believe in the Christian God, most definitely, but I did believe there was something out there, the universe as a force, something listening, something watching, something
higher,
something more than me,
just us,
right? Some other force out there, right? You know, kind of more along the lines of Star Wars, you know, the Force.
The Force.
Really. And my bent was really more intellectual and learning all that I could. I mean, I've been compelled my whole life to learn as much as I could about everything. Meals here. So the dogs in the neighborhood are all barking. So one of those things is quantum physics. I was led to learn a lot about quantum physics, which of course is metaphysics when you want to get down to it. It's the study of things unseen, right? And that led me to all sorts of concepts where, honestly, 10 years ago, I love telling this story because, I mean, I just want people to be able to relate to me on this level. 10, 12 years ago, I don't know, whenever I was living in Arizona, I was out back of my pot dealer's house smoking a joint with somebody that he was recording with, and this kid starts talking about that we're all living in a computer simulation. And I was like, okay, buddy, keep smoking. You're crazy. quite frankly. I was not ready to hear anything like that. I was not ready for all of that. And now come to find out through all of these teachings I've learning about this last several years, basically simulation theory is very, very much what we are. And even if you go back to the ancient teachings, that this is all an illusion, this is Maya, they all teach the same thing, just in a non-technical way. So bringing all of this together is all part of that.
And I think it's important to touch on a lot of what we believe, what I've been through, what my wife's been through, and what we know many people have been through. Personally, am I a religious scholar? Absolutely not. I'm about as far from it. But as human beings, as we've grown, we've dabbled in that quote-unquote higher, looking for answers of happiness, getting beat up by the world. And I did my stint through various quote-unquote Christian churches. We came together as a couple, as friends first, and really deep discussions. And the thing that kept popping up through various conversations was there was always something missing. There was always something that didn't make sense in the teachings. My personal one was always, okay, if you have a quote-unquote all-loving God, why would some deity that is so built on the foundation of love design a purgatory of hell to torture the people that come to him? And things like that. There were so many questions raised, nothing seemed to fit. And to now leapfrog forward, when we came together, a lot of what she had been learning about, quantum physics and things like that, all of a sudden, all these pieces that religion likes to segregate all started coming together and making more sense.
Well, it really started breaking open for me in Arizona when I was finally led to... Well, my first dark night of the soul, if you will, was when I had a realization after my father died and just a whole bunch of things happened, and I just went into a really, really dark place, which I'll expand on at some point. But I came to realize that I didn't have depression, and I could choose not to be in that environment that I was in, and I could choose to be who I wanted to be. And I didn't want to be somebody that was depressed and couldn't take care of themselves and couldn't function and couldn't take care of their kids. So I chose differently. And I will never tell anybody what to do, but I will tell you that I cured my own depression and realized that I could do that. And that really, and I have fibromyalgia, like I know several of you do as well. It's really led me into that hermit mode, of not wanting to work outside the home for other people, not being conventional really in any way. Nothing. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere like most people. Michael was able to actually scratch out a living for 20 years at a company that at the time we met was starting to take advantage of him. And then through all of our evolution here, but when we met, he was working at a company he'd been at for 20 years. I was self-employed, selling Scentsy, which is actually, if you're going to work for a multi-level company, it is a wonderful company to do that with. And I learned a lot. I gained so much from the people with that company, and I never, ever, ever felt like a number. So if you not that I'm not even with them currently. I might sign up with them again at some point just because I love that company so much. But this is not a pitch for them. That's just what I was doing at the time. And Michael would come over because I had a shed of stuff to sell, and there's a big ass house here, which is the Spirit Center at Crystal Lake, that he wanted to smell nice. So he would come over and spend a lot of money and sit there and chat with me for hours. We'd sit out front because we both smoke, and that's one thing we have not healed yet and don't want to
in process
just yet. But I know a lot of you probably do too. And yes, we're a big advocate of plant medicines as well. But we would sit out front and just chat for hours. And I was just beginning to go through legal troubles with my daughter's biological father. So we talked a lot about that, and I learned kind of, just being around his energy just felt good. Being around each other's energy felt good. We were on the same page with everything. I was going through my courses for Reiki at the time, and he was just so interested in that. And I read tarot, which is just a divination tool, a connection with spirit. And I was developing my connection with spirit, and at the same time we were developing our connection with each other. Took me longer to understand what was going on than him. But
I knew what was going on, not at first, but it was, we'll just say, divine intervention. Again, we came together as friends, and our foundation was built on conversation. And all the conversation centered around, none purposely, just by happenstance, all the things that this world tends to throw at us, from day-to-day living, the grind at work, the things we all go through, to spirituality and true meaning of happiness in life. And all of a sudden, all these pieces started coming together. The biggest thing I've always tried to keep is the word balance. And it was through conversation, again, because of my, we'll just say, academic background. We're always learning, all of us. But the pieces started coming together, and I started learning a lot. And for the first time, things started making sense, because things weren't so segregated as in a lot of teachings. They all started fitting together, the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and the balance of that within us all. And again, we could go down 1,000 different avenues on each other, but that's where everything started coming together for us. And we slowly started switching from just friends having great conversation to falling in love. So,
well, him more so than I did.
Yeah.
I at the time, we were very...
Kicking and screaming.
I at the time was very much in the energy of, I had been so betrayed by not just relationships, but mostly relationships, but friends too, family, just everybody. And I just was in a very protective mode of my energy. I was not willing to um, I was not really willing to commit to anybody unless they were willing to go all in. Somebody that I connected with, mind, body, and soul. And it wasn't worth the energy for me to expend otherwise. And I wasn't sure that that person was out there because I was such a strange creature and I had been through so much and I was very jaded. Quite frankly, I just didn't think that anybody would ever be a good fit. Not that
We
I'm,
were both very guarded.
yeah, not that I'm like, I felt like I was better than all these people, but I just, as like, who is going to see me and love me for who I really am?
We were both at the level that I think many in life have gotten to that have been through various relationships, marriages, relationships breaking down, that with our age and maturity, we had both gotten to the point, like she said, where there was jaded and not necessarily in a healthy sense to a degree for myself, but we were both very guarded and we were both very firm within ourselves of, you know what, we've done this time and time again. We know our self-worth, and we're not saying that we're closed off, but if there's going to be a connection in life, it's going to have to be, like she said, it's got to be like we're raising the bar high, really high. If you're going to be in my life, you're going to have to be all that and then some.
Essentially, I know what I bring to the table,
Right.
and you better know what you bring to the table.
No more compromising.
And it better be a good mix, you know. Yeah. So so the ascension path for me, because I do believe there is a difference between awakening. That's what I felt like happened to me in 2000. Well, it was like early 2006 that happened for me. I felt like that was like entering kindergarten. I was a slow burn for many years. And then this whole process got kicked into gear by what I would say is a karmic relationship or a false twin, somebody that got me out of my box, and the cosmic 2x4 that led me onto researching the twin flame journey. And that, and also put me into a very, well, it was a deep, dark night of the soul. I just really, it was like I got into that point in life where I knew that I hadn't done anything for this person to leave me. It didn't make sense, but at the same time, I know I was starting to trust my intuition, because even while it was going on, my gut was telling me something wasn't right. Even though everything looked good on the surface, everything sounded good, my gut was telling me something's not right, and I ignored it. And that's the key in all of that. I ignored it, and that was a big, big lesson that I needed to learn in order to do what I have done in these last few years. And to realize really what was right in front of me was to really start paying attention to my intuition and that energy inside of me. So being in this deep, dark night of the soul, I had planned a foot surgery for the end of November. I think it was the 22nd. actually.
And I think it was right 2 days before.
11/22.
Yeah.
And originally, the previous karmic relationship was supposed to be there for me and wasn't. And it was very traumatic for me going through that. What I felt was like very much alone. Even my best friend of several years that was there for the day of the surgery and to drive me and everything, ended up just completely flipping in the next few weeks. And it was like I literally went through what a lot of you are experiencing right now, where everything is just being torn away from you. All the people that you thought had your back suddenly don't. I went through literally 3 roommates within a few months that just totally took advantage of my generosity and hospitality, and then turned around and tried to tell me I was a narcissist and stole from me on top of it. It was just a very awful period. So during all of this, I was literally starving after my surgery. I had nobody there for me. The first roommate had left. And my boys were there, but they were, I don't know, for some reason it was just like Spirit was like, nope, you're just going to be completely helpless for the first time in your life, and starving, and having to take care of a 6-year-old on top of it. So I was literally in my garage smoking cigarettes and smoking weed and watching YouTube videos of tarot readers talking about twin flames, and understanding that I'm there is something more, but it's like, why, and I had a friend that came and brought me out to eat lunch, and I hadn't seen him in 20 years, and he was going through a divorce, and I finally broke down, and I just got to that point where I was like, why? Like, why? I don't get it. I'm a good person. When I love somebody, I do it with everything I am. I'm loyal, I'm faithful, I'm kind, I'm supportive. I'm all the things that a wife and mother should be, and I just don't get it. Like, why? I look around and I see these women that have these husbands that are just wonderful, and they love the shit out of them, and they're just awful. and I don't understand why they get treated like queens, and I'm actually a good person, and I just feel like I'm forgotten, like nobody sees me, like I'm invisible. And all the people that say that they love me have not really ever actually loved me. And, aside from my children, of course, but talking about like relationships and other family. And I that energy went out to the universe. I didn't realize what I was doing at that moment. And my friend didn't have the answers for me. He didn't know. He's like, I don't get it either. You are a good person. I don't get why it happens to me. I'm a good person, but the universe heard my call. And it provided me with the answer not too long after then. I believe it was probably even the next day. I know, because I was very hungry. I was very tired and weak, and just at my end, really. And I felt like forsaken by everything and everybody, and I didn't understand. I felt like I was on the cross, and that's why I call it my moment on the cross. And I collapsed on trying to crawl up the stairs so I could go to the bathroom, and I just sobbed. And I was like, why me? and I just felt so alone. And then I realized in that moment that that's when I had my come to Jesus moment, is what I call it. And I didn't realize that it was him at that time, because I didn't believe that he existed. At the time, I thought he was maybe a metaphorical representation of love that the church had invented to try and sound good. But I realized in that moment what it meant to love myself, because nobody else did that I knew of. And it didn't matter that my divine masculine wasn't there, because I needed to love myself in the way that my divine masculine should be loving me. And if I couldn't do that for myself, how would I ever be with somebody? Because why would I wouldn't want to be with somebody that didn't love themselves. And I had to basically just kind of look in the mirror and get up and wash my face and become that divine feminine that I knew that I was, and make that space in my life for that energy to come in. And the other important step was taking the image off of what I thought I needed to fill this well inside, and realizing that I had to fill it up myself. And that divine masculine was out there, and we would be together when the time was right, when we were both in the right energy, because my higher self loved me no matter what, and that I was part of something much bigger. And that no matter what anybody chooses to call that higher self is a part of God. You are a part of God. We're all a part of one giant consciousness, and we're all one. And some of us are more one than others. And calling in that energy, you have to focus on the energy. You can't focus on things that you see, things that you hear in this 3D world, because that can be an illusion. It is all an illusion. What you need to focus on is the spirit inside. And when I started focusing inward on my own spirit and what I deserved, that's when I started to not be able to take my mind off of Michael, who I had been getting to know over the course of a year, and didn't see that he was courting me properly. But that's when I did. I started to see him. I saw his light, because I found it within myself. And a completely out of character, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, because it's an important part of the process. I couldn't stop thinking about him in an intimate manner, which was new to me. We had flirted somewhat, but I was used to that with most men, I'll be honest. But all of a sudden it became real to me, and I wanted to, I guess, consummate the relationship. And that's not like me. It's not like either one of us, really. We take that part of our lives very, very seriously, and it's giving a part of your soul to, it's an exchange of energy on a soul level, and we both take it very seriously. So to just kind of jump and want to be with somebody in that way was very new for me, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. And so February 22nd of 2022, that consummation took place, and was a Kundalini awakening, which is very, very necessary when it comes to a twin flame relationship, which is something that we want to teach people about so they can find it for themselves. And that became a big part of the beginning of all of this was us. And finding that ultimate love, that ultimate synergy with somebody, that just feeling like you are one person in two bodies, that telepathy, even. He'd be an hour away from me at work and he'd call me up, what's wrong? you know? And learning and growing together. It was beautiful. And knowing that our connection, our unity also was a trinity with divine was a huge, huge part of it. That spirit was very much a part of bringing us together in the right time, for the right reasons, for purpose, for a mission. Our relationship is 1,000% spirit led. And it's extremely important, not in a religious manner, just in a core of who we are manner. And it was important for me to include that in our marriage vows. And also acknowledge that my father was there in spirit in our marriage vows. And also it helped our ancestor, had helped bring us together. So right from the beginning, we're not we're mystics, at the core, and mystics really at the core are finding that closer connection with spirit. That is what a mystic is. God as you believe God to be. And in our belief system, really, all gods that anybody believe in are all part of the all. So I'm not going to tell anybody their God doesn't exist, because it probably does. If you believe in it, it exists for you. That's the way this universe works. As long as you're not hurting people, that's the main creed, do no harm. We're all about helping and healing and learning and growing and expansion, but also acknowledgement of the darkness in the world and rising from that. So through all of that and our union, we just kept learning and growing. And after that, what I'd call my ascension onto, my being kicked onto the ascension path, I would say. I was really compelled to research who Jesus was. It really came to me without actually doing any research at all. Holy shit, Jesus was actually a light worker. So of course I started reading scripture. I started really researching who he was, all the stuff that wasn't in scripture, finding out more and more, which led me to Dolores Cannon and Jesus and the Essenes. When we were together last summer, actually her page on Facebook led me to her, and thus Jesus and the Essenes. It's kind of, y'all know how spirit works. And so I was like, as Dolores was still digging for answers, and I had to go deeper. So I had to learn her method, because, oh my gosh, having a direct line to the universal consciousness to talk with all of these spirits on the other side, and, experiences that people had had in other lives. I don't like calling them past lives anymore, because I've learned it's more everything is happening all at once. So, but that's all part of my teachings. Anyways, it's all encompassed. And then, of course, through learning the quantum healing hypnosis technique, it's what it is, and basically putting people in a deep state of hypnosis so they can heal on a soul level, because we all physically make our bodies sick when our souls are in a state of dis-ease. Everything from cancer to accidents happening in our lives are all from being in a state of dis-ease on a soul level. And QHHT is healing that on a quantum level, quantum healing hypnosis technique. And so, of course, my husband was my first guinea pig in that. And I thought that I was doing something wrong until I did other clients, and everyone else has been textbook, as Dolores taught us, a session should go. But my husband never has been. All he ever saw was Source. Many people go to Source during these sessions, but we even went to the reunion in February asking them, this is all I'm getting with him, is he becomes Source, not going there and experiencing being there, but actually being Source in Creator God mode, literally creating things. So what do we do with that? And these are, Julia Cannon, who is Dolores's daughter, that runs QHHT now, and level 3 practitioners, which there aren't many of them in the world, but people that are very, very, very experienced and have done hundreds of thousands of sessions between them. And they're like, wow, that's very interesting. We'd like to hear more about that, I mean, they had no clue either. So our quest continued, and we pulled in a few people that are also QHHT practitioners. One of them is Kaya, that we've been talking to about possibly being a board member on the church. And other like-minded people that use that method, and we just continued to learn more and more about it, and continued the sessions with Michael. And do you want to talk a little bit about what we've learned through the sessions? I mean, I don't.
Well, how do you say it without sounding crazy?
I mean, we're going to sound crazy. We knew that. We said that in the sessions, that we're going to sound crazy. So we're just
to back up a little bit, I'm a self-described, lack of a better way to put it, I'm a very humble person. I consider myself an average human being. Not in a bad way, but very invisible. Nothing spectacular. I'm the guy that gets up and goes to work. I'm the guy that has what I feel is impeccable character, old school morals and values. I'm a normal person.
He is the ultimate husband, father, male that anybody would aspire to be. Any woman would aspire to love. I'm just going to put that out there. He's very humble.
Never one to stand out is my perception of myself. That's not a bad thing.
Just not arrogant.
Just by no means. So I'm very supportive. So when my wife says, hey, here's this QHHT thing, obviously I'm very supportive. We buy it. She dives in deep. I piggyback over her shoulder when my time permits, and I learn along with her. Repeating, like she said, obviously, I'm the guinea pig. We do a session. But because of our lack of knowledge, because we were at the baby level of learning, we came out of it with well, what the fuck does that all mean? So we start researching, and you can't really find anything. And everybody else, the thousands and thousands and thousands of people through the history of QHHT, all go down this path. I go down a completely separate path. It led to multiple sessions, each one doing the same thing but revealing more knowledge. We had other sessions with other trained professionals repeating the same outcome. And this is the part where it's like, it's still, it's hard to put into words, but basically the long and the short of it, through all of our sessions and all of our learning, it's, and by no means an arrogant, but it was based off of facts, based off recordings, and based off numerous sessions between not just me and my wife, but between me and other trained therapists. Not only was I in source, which many people do, but I was source. And it kept elaborating more and more and more, to the point of
Well, I think the most, like, one of the most important, well, one of the first sessions that he had some very distressing visions that were unlike the creator visions. He saw the earth below him, and two mushroom clouds. Do you remember specifically how many?
I think it was one.
Just one?
I think so, yes.
Okay. Well, there was a mushroom cloud, and he got very upset. He was very deep in that, what Dolores describes as a somnambulistic state. He was fully that other personality, and not at all Michael Rogers, right, at that moment. And he just started bawling, and I could barely get through him, which these sessions are all posted in our group for the board, and I'm going to repost this video, I think, in the way, just we don't have to do it twice. But all of his sessions are available in our private group for our board of elders, and those students that we admit into that group, for our inner circle of, workings of the organization, and highest level teachings, right? Those of us that are all forming this church at the moment. But I'm going to repost this in the way, which is our free group for everybody. Because really we need to just come out of the broom closet, so to speak, about all of this anyway. So yeah, he started crying, and he said that they were killing her, and I got out of him barely that he was speaking about the earth. I believe it sounded like that was the earth, but the feeling he got, and I believe it was after the session when we were discussing it, he really felt like it was centered on me. Like, that's why he came here. like it had a lot to do with me specifically.
It was not a feeling of an inanimate object, so to speak.
It was
like
it was
the earth.
somebody that he loved.
It was a divine, intimate, passionate love of the person that you love so much is being destroyed.
Right. But he was looking at the earth. Okay, so we're very confused. Then I guess I don't have anybody to be doing sessions for me on a regular basis. We were out here painting this porch, and I started to have what I've come to understand is really just your soul is restless and wants to speak. Before, I thought it was anxiety attacks that I was having. But instead of getting, into that panic mode and spiraling, I was like, I have no reason to be having a panic attack. So there must be a reason for this physical feeling. I feel like my soul has something to say, maybe. It's trying to get out or express itself in some way. It's just the thought process that I had. And instead of panicking, I just told Michael, okay, turn the meditation music on and come sit with me. And just like this, I held his hand and I leaned against him. And then I had my first vision. I literally felt the white light shoot down through my body like a tube of light about that big around. Shoot through down the core of my body. And instantly I was looking at the earth, but I knew that it was me. And I understood who I was and why all of this that is going on right now has to happen the way it is. Even though things look dark, the light is coming, the balance is going to be restored. All of that kind of encompassed, and also all of the joy and all of the sorrow of mankind, and the mother's love for her children who are just so off the path, but you still love them. And all of it just came pouring through, and that kind of freaked me out, but at the same time I was like, okay, well, it makes a little bit more sense. These visions that you're having, and now this comes to me. And it's so real when these kind of things happen. Like, you don't just imagine them. You're there. You are that consciousness. And these kind of experiences do happen a lot when you're in ceremony with plant medicines. And I'm not saying either of us were alone in having those experiences, but the only other occurrences I've heard of personally are people that are enjoying plant medicines.
None of which in any of our sessions has anything along those lines been involved. These are just 100% me and her, and that's it.
This is strictly hypnosis sessions.
And the other therapists that have done the same sessions on me. Just to elaborate a little bit further, there was more interaction. I don't engage a lot in social media. And I had commented on a photo in a private group on Facebook that was based off QHHT that somebody had posted. Long and short of it, this person lives in the UK. Obviously doesn't know me. has never had any interaction with me ever, private messages me and proceeds to say that she is a channeler and she has seen and validated pretty well at that point all the pieces we were putting together, which a lot of it was my wife putting the pieces together, talking with numerous people, doing numerous readings and research, and piecing together basically all the information that we had gathered through all the sessions leading up to her vision, the multiple visions that I had had in sessions prior to that, even after that, going up to, I think the last one was 2 weeks ago. So it was a lot of diligent investigating and piecing together just for validation within ourselves to go, is this the right understanding of it all? I guess, to put it that way.
Right. Now keep in mind, this is somebody that was very, very adamant that God would not have a personality. It's a force of the universe, right? It's not a being or anything that would come down and give a shit about what's going on this planet. You know what I mean? Like, I just did not, because the whole Christian God thing, right? And through the course of this, I was checking to see, so I missed. Did you bring up the lady that was telling you about? You said in the group, right? The lady.
Yeah. And just to repeat, I don't interact a lot on social media. If I'm not friends with you on Facebook, please feel free to send me a friend request. I go on it, but I don't interact a lot. And I was, to repeat the story, I was on a Dolores Cannon. A woman had posted a picture involving orbs, angelic energies. And I just commented I've had a lot of interaction and experiences with those visions as well, and seen a lot of that.
A lot of orbs. Of orbs. Almost every time.
Again, bear in mind, this woman does not know me. She's actually from the UK. Never before crossed paths, communicated in any way, shape, or form. It was simply me commenting on a picture that this complete stranger posted. And she private messaged me, and turns out that she is, I guess the proper term, she is a channeler. And basically laid out all this angelic things that she suddenly saw just by my comment and my connection to it all. That, I guess, lack of a better way to put it, sort of blew me the fuck away, because I was like, and told my wife, how is it a woman that I do not know, never crossed paths with, pretty well hit the nail on the head of all the conversations that we had been led to prior to that, basically confirming everything. to me, that blew me away because I was like, that's not possible.
Well, what did she say?
I can't even say it. It just feels, I don't know.
She said that you were something about Archangel Michael was coming through very strongly.
She basically said that she has seen that I am very surrounded by angels. Now, pausing right there, bear this in mind. I am dabbled in spirituality and religion as I grew up, but so that was the extent of it. I never felt a fit, never considered myself. I believed in a higher power. That was about the extent of it. So when this woman sits here and tells me I'm basically surrounded by angelic energies, the only fit that had was all the previous visions we had had through sessions. And then she proceeded to say that the presence of Archangel Michael specifically was very overpowering. Now, at this point in our lives, we were piecing everything together through all the sessions. And the only clear answer to that puzzle was...
Well, and also Archangel Michael did come through to, was present during one of the sessions, even one of the more powerful of the sessions, and we hadn't really gotten him very deep yet at that point. I mean, he hasn't gone like deep. I mean, he doesn't remember a lot of it, but it was very hard to hear him when he's in source. It's very much like it's hard for him to communicate, which is why I'm so grateful that we have Wes on with us now, because he's an amazing seer and can hear a lot more of what's going on than I do yet.
I'll be right back.
Nope, it's fine. I'm gonna go after you. Potty break. So, and then I just lost my total train of thought. So Archangel Michael had come through on some sessions, and this whole time I'm going, okay, all right, I mean, I'm just, there's people moving things down. The neighbors are moving their the boathouse off of our property, which if you've seen any of the drama, and we can fill you in on that too, but hopefully being resolved soon. So sorry for the noises and the beeps and all of that, but hopefully we'll be done somewhat soon here. It looks like they're... Anyway, so Archangel Michael had been mentioned coming through from other things. There was a couple at our retreat that had come up to us randomly, and they're like, we hope you don't think we're weird, but the two of you together, just looking at your energy, is just, there's something about you two. I just don't know. And everybody at the retreat the reunion started, referring to him as Mr. Source. And just not even like, it's so hard for my husband because he's such a humble man. It's hard for him to even accept that he's seeing these things, and that he's, that there's nobody else that's seeing these things, and we're looking for answers and we can't find them. And so all of this keeps going on, and finally I just got to the point not that long ago where I was like, okay, everything keeps pointing to Archangel Michael, having been part of his progression here. And we kept seeing a lot of people that were, Archangel Michael's a very busy deity. He's running around all over the place, talking to people, channeling through people, helping people. There's a lot more out there now with social media that you have access to than what we did previously. In any ancient texts, there wasn't a hell of a lot. But if you listen to the stories of the day, he's a very, very, very busy person, deity, and an actual being with a personality and everything. Okay, so that tripped me the fuck out, because I was like, okay, there's such thing as angels, and specifically Archangel Michael. Okay, I mean, I really, when it comes to doing these sessions, I can't really argue with these, because it's the same kind of information coming from all sorts of different sources, and this wasn't conflicting with any of that. And it's not the kind of things that just my husband would not make up this shit. And he was very, he was deep enough where he wasn't remembering a lot of it until we start listening to replays. I just got to the point where I asked for Archangel Michael directly, and we connected with Source as we usually did, and then I just addressed him directly, and he started to come through, and he has revealed information to us that I certainly never would have ever expected. Made me look at literally creation itself in a whole different way. But our mission that we've literally been called to by God is to spread what we've learned about who Archangel Michael is and why he is here, incarnated, and not that his incarnation is to be the focus, but that it is the fact that he has, and so has the Divine Mother, and they have incarnated to help spread the word of, the truth, the sword of truth. What Archangel Michael has told us directly himself was this particular entity that he is the face of what we as humans would consider to be God, the creator God of this universe, but not the God. There are levels, but for all intents and purposes of this universe, he is the creator God of this universe. I had never heard of that concept before, so this is not stuff that we're making up. But it makes sense. Michael was, in the lore that is written, Michael was the first creation of God. Do you want to explain what he has said about his incarnation? I mean, this is in our private group.
Well,
I mean, as we said, we don't want the focus to be on this aspect of it.
No, because, I mean, I still get at a loss for words on all this. So, I guess the first thing I would say is, if we played the wish game in a 3D world, I can list off a million things I would wish for. This was never anything that I would even remotely think of putting on the list.
Yeah, no, neither of us.
That being said, still wrapping around it. But
we definitely don't claim to have all the answers, just so you know.
right.
But when we have questions, we are going right literally to the Word of God.
I am a, how should we say, self-humbling. I have a lot to learn on a lot of this level. I will be the first to say, spiritually, academically, however you want to look at it, I have a lot to learn. I'm a human being. But by going through all this and learning all this, if I wasn't humble enough, it's really knocked me back. To come out of visions where she is asked why why Archangel Michael is here incarnated for the first and only time is in order to fully envelop creation, you have to experience creation. You have to experience what it's like. And the only way to do that is to physically be a part of this world. You cannot experience that on a spiritual level. You have to physically incarnate into a human body to physically experience all the emotions, all the highs, all the lows, the complete duality, the complete balance of everything. And that's what our life is here, is learning and ascending. You know, you can't have up without down. You can't have hot without cold. And the whole purpose, maybe not the whole purpose, but a major factor in this whole thing is Archangel Michael has to experience the full effect of humanity. And the only way to do that is to incarnate. To our knowledge, historically, it's never been done until now.
And also, when I asked him before I even got the question out, which is all recorded, before I even got the question out, he answered, no, he's not ever done this before. In a human.
Right. Spiritually, many angels, besides Archangel Michael, have channeled through many people. But Archangel Michael has never incarnated into a human being until now. Again, the emphasis and the center point is not...
And that matches with his vision, that I don't know if we explained, but when he was looking at the world being blown up, basically, with the bomb, there were other entities around him, not in form, but there were other beings there he was speaking with, and he very much was like, I have to go. It's got to be me. But you don't do that, was what they were like saying. I know, but it's got to be me. Michael has revealed that it's for balance, to bring balance back. That is, to tell the truth of things, and a lot of that is centered around the lies that the church has been.
Everything has been diluted, manipulated, transformed, transcribed.
The divine feminine has been oppressed, and the divine masculine came to save her, is really the bottom line. And it's not like we're going to be shoving any of these beliefs down anybody's throats. I just want you to know this is where we're coming from, why we're doing what we're doing.
No. And that's just it. It has never been my or my wife's intention to judge in any way, shape, or form people's beliefs. People believe what they want to believe. You know, my whole personal viewpoint is, as long as you're not hurting anybody, you do you. If that's what makes your world complete and you happy, good for you.
And there's no hell. There's no hell. Our souls are already eternal. There's no burning in eternal damnation, unless you want to create that for yourself. You can.
The torturing of hell
is here on earth.
And what we inadvertently create for ourselves. If you, and I've done it, if you go through phases of your life where, as we say, we make really shitty adult choices, life choices that bring around torturing emotionally, sometimes physically, and you're living a phase of your life where you are truly, truly suffering, then you are experiencing hell. And that is our definition of it.
Which is man-made. God did not do this to us.
No. And that's the whole...
We have done this to ourselves.
That's the whole free choice, if you want to look at it from that perspective. We create what we want to create. If you want... My favorite saying is, if you don't like what you're watching, change the channel. You are the remote. And sometimes that's easier said than done. Believe me when I say I struggle sometimes. But in the end, we all have that power. The message that I pull out of it is not to go, hey, I'm Archangel Michael. The message is not to focus on that. Is the message of, we need to take everything that's been so diluted, everything that's been so manipulated, use the cliche, get back to basics. Church and organized religion was orchestrated for power and control. This is not about power. This is not about control. If it's about power and it's about control, it's about empowering individuals to control their own selves. Mm-hmm. Not through a church, not through a religion. You have that power. And right is right, and wrong is wrong, and there is no gray area. And that is the foundation of everything that we're pulling out of conversations with Archangel Michael. Getting the sword of truth back to basics. You are in control. The power of Christ consciousness is within us all. And it's time to help people untap that. Because it's been diluted, it's been manipulated as wrong, it's been contorted.
The divine feminine has been villainized,
Right.
straight up villainized for thousands of years, and we are, as humanity, we are reaching a breaking point. The balance has to be restored. The scales have to be tipped, and you know, it's time that love stopped whispering.
If you go back through history, the term feminine and masculine has gotten so out of whack, it's not even funny. Divine feminism and divine masculine is within every single one of us. Every single one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Some have stronger traits. You can be a woman and have a stronger divine masculine trait. You can be a male and have a stronger divine feminine trait. The key is balance. And when you're in a relationship, the ultimate is the ultimate balance. The sad reality, like my wife just pointed out, is throughout history, society has tried very strongly to basically eliminate the divine feminine. What parts of the divine feminine are left in society? Society then manipulates it as a weak point. They've contorted the divine masculine, the term masculine, into,
Toxic masculinity.
quite honestly, personally to me, the generalized term of masculine within society today disgusts me, because there's not one positive trait that's generally associated with it. And it's wrong against the term love, because that's what it's all about.
And most men are to the point where they're so scared to even be vulnerable and to even explore that divine feminine side of themselves, which is the nurturing, the loving, the thinking. All of that is encompassed in that force within them. That's where that comes from. And we all have that within us, right? The more you turn away from it, the more you make it a bad thing, the more toxic masculinity you're going to build within yourself, you know? And that goes both ways, like even hating men. Rightfully so, in this day and age, there are not a lot of men to look up to, quite frankly. There aren't a lot.
No, and
and there's a lot of men that need healing. So many men that need healing. So many masculines that need that have those mother wounds that need the healing. And the balance is supposed to be the divine feminines helping to support the divine masculines spiritually and emotionally, and building that part of the kingdom. And the divine masculine force is the doing force, the putting things into action, the actualization of the plan, right? That's a very strong force that men have gotten ultra focused on, to the point where they feel awkward ever just being. And allowing themselves to meditate, to focus on spirituality, all of that. It's so closed off in a lot of men because they're forced by our society to be the doers, to pay the bills, to build the kingdom structurally. And we were fortunate enough to have this beautiful synergy between us, where my husband has been working on building that structure of the kingdom his whole life, and I've been working on the spiritual structure of the kingdom my whole life, and together we are building that kingdom together, and now it's gotten to the point where we wanted to start bringing other people into that, to show other people how I got from being alone in a basement less than 2 years ago to this, and starting a church and starting a community with people that are like-minded. We want this happiness for others. We also want to get to the point where we can both focus 100% on this service. That is why we're bringing other people into this organization, and there's so many people that are looking to do what we're looking to do. But
it's very easy and to get caught up in the very essence of this world, to put it that way. I am probably the biggest guilty person of that. It's very, how should I put it? It's very empowering and difficult at the same time when you look at how society forms everything and has manipulated people's perceptions. Well, like my wife said, she was very closed off. I was very closed off. It's a human nature, unfortunately, in this society, when you've been burned, hurt, destroyed time after time after time throughout your life, you build up these huge walls around you. I did it to the point where it's like, I'm a good person. I know I'm a good person. But, you know what? I need to close myself off, because the world does nothing but kick me. It's not a healthy way to live. By experiencing spiritually all the things we've experienced, that has been the motivation for us to do what we are doing now, to bring in people that want to do and achieve the same things, that want to help others achieve and do the same things. And that, in essence, teaching the truth and helping others. If you take Jesus, Yeshua, for example, is a very simplistic. I like to look at things from a very simplistic viewpoint. What was his whole point? To teach and to show people. That's it. And that's what we're here to try and do. We cannot do this on our own. We need the help of everybody that is wanting to do the same thing.
right. Which brings us back to the topic of, the name of the church and all of that, and really it is a melding of mysticism, which at its source, like I mentioned in the beginning, is really all about finding that deeper connection to God, Spirit, Creator. And channeling is, has always been a part of it. It's Jesus would go off and meditate, literally, to commune with God. right in the Bible, there's instances of, using plant medicines and what have you. And when people, they see God face to face, I mean, it's veiled, it's hidden, but it's there. But there's this in all different religions. It's not just Christian. But there's a reason why we are legally declaring ourselves as a Christian, not a Christian church. It's not in our name, but we are going to be backed up by Scripture in our church doctrine, constitution, and bylaws. Biggest reason being is because there is parts of Scripture that back up exactly what we're doing, and Yeshua came here to kick over the tables in the temples. He came here to teach people the truth, which was very often against Judaism and what was normally being taught at the time. There's a reason why the Pharisees were constantly challenging him and wanted him dead. I mean, if you really look into the history of everything, it becomes very, very apparent that, basically he was teaching all of the things that we are in unity consciousness. So when you look at his teachings, even in the Bible, from a unity consciousness perspective, that's what he was teaching. Now, if we use those examples of his teachings to back up what we're teaching, which is, the way. It's just the way. It's not a religion. It's just a way of being, right? But the organized religions cannot come at us and try to say that we're doing anything that's out of line, because everything will be right in our bylaws, backed up scripturally. So, we're not claiming to be a Christian church, but we will be backed up by Christian principles. We will be performing as a Christian church, performing sermons, not as a Christian church, but as a Christian church needs to do legally. We will be performing sermons. We will be baptizing those that wish to be baptized. Which, as I explained in the chat earlier with one of our members, is really just a ritual cleansing of yourself, a choosing to surrender to Spirit, an acknowledgement that there is something higher than yourself that loves you unconditionally and has your back, and you are going to do everything you can do to be of service to build that within yourself and to help yourself heal yourself and then others. But most of all, first of all, honoring yourself, right, on a soul level. And that's what baptism is really about, that communion with your higher self, right? That unity with your higher self. You're making that commitment to you, right? It's all about you. And so it's very much what you choose to do when you choose to do it, if you choose to do it. It's not anything that's going to be a requirement. It's something that we offer.
We have I like to keep things very simple, and it's our approach. If you look at society's quote-unquote religions, Christianity, modern day Christianity, all of them, they're very segregated as far as their belief system goes. We believe this. If you believe that, then you're wrong because ours is right. We believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I like to use the term, it's like a cake recipe. There's many aspects, and the goal is to help individuals connect to their higher selves, to empower themselves, and to bring themselves closer to Source.
Mm-hmm. All roads lead to Source.
Now, where we differ is we encourage all the proper ways that are many different aspects, where certain religions manipulate it and close it off and says, no, this is the only way to do it. I'll pick on the Catholics, for example. You have to go to the priest, and you have to confess through the priest, and you have to confess through Mary and do... No. If you want to come to the lake and be baptized and renew yourself into your higher self and walk a life gearing towards source and being the best human being that you can possibly be, that's what we're about. Legally, we have to follow certain guidelines just to be legal. And my wife touched on it. We have to have sermons every X amount of time. These are things we have to do under the laws of society to be licensed legally. Does that mean we are a Christian or a Buddhist? No. It's the legality ways that we have to do just to be licensed.
Right. And the name is Divine Trinity. If I would say the only thing that I would require people to really understand about what we're doing is understand what we mean by Divine Trinity. And that the Trinity is very important in many different ways, but especially for our belief system, the Divine Trinity stands for the Vesica Pisces, the source, and then as well as, and within that, the divine masculine and feminine as the first creation. And that is the first Trinity, the Divine Trinity. And there could be none of those parts without the other, or none of them would be.
Nothing else exists.
Right. So everything stems from that first Divine Trinity. Everything, all of creation. That is at the core of our beliefs. And the divine masculine and feminine energies are what we believe to be God. Okay? And all of creation that they have created, those two forces enacting together, it's all of creation is God. It's basically, we are the dream and the dreamer, because we are all in essence a part of that dream. And I use a dream very often in my teachings to describe life, what we're living here, and what God is. And that's what God is the dreamer and the dream itself. The structure, the perceived structure of the dream, just like when we're dreaming. We perceive that the world is very real, that you can open and close doors and walk upstairs and all of that stuff. We perceive that, but none of it's actually real, right? We think we're separate from everything, but really everything in that dream is us, right? So we are, when we dream, we are God and the universe that we're dreaming about, and ourselves in that dream. And it's a perfect metaphor for really as above, so below, because that's what we are. That's what we are. We are all part of God's dream, right? We're all a different aspect of God experiencing itself. And if you're going to put a face on the God, you can't. You know, we're not ever going to be trying to do that as like some supreme deity that you've got to worship and make sacrifices to, or any of that shit. Like the original creator God, shall we say, we don't believe has like it doesn't give a shit about each of us individually. You know what I mean? It's not like that. That's not what it is. It's we each individually are supposed to give a shit about ourselves because we're all like the cells in a body of God. Um, so, and all of this is all esoteric teachings. You know, nothing new under the sun. It's just been hidden for a very long time. And right now, in this day and age, there really is nothing that's esoteric anymore. Nothing is really hidden anymore. And all we have to do is ask. And we will be led to the information. That said, you know, we plan to take the questions that our congregation has and present them and record all of that and have everything be completely transparent. We don't want to be behind the veil anymore. The veil needs to drop. Archangel Michael himself, if you listen to the recordings we've got already, we're like, well, how are we supposed to tell people about this? Like, they're going to think we're nuts. Well, this is the beginning of that. And we don't necessarily want to be the mouthpieces. We want literally disciples to learn, and if they're compelled to, go and spread this knowledge. All of the things that we're going to be teaching are just very first and foremost important for you as a person, and raising your own personal vibration so that you can be the biggest, brightest light that you can be, and you can shine that light on others and help others. Our whole organization is about being that lighthouse for people that are lost and seeking, but holding that torch the same as we are, and they see, oh shit, there's somebody that's holding the same torch I am. Cool. Let's put our fires together so we can all burn brighter together. Like, we are all light workers. This is the great convergence of all of that, because there is some shit going down from what we've learned, and we're not going to lie about that either. But if you can learn and grow and have that faith, like, there's literally nothing to fear, and it's all good news for anybody that has a good heart.
And again, just to reiterate, we are as transparent as you can get. If there's anybody that has questions, wants to talk, just to clarify or what have you, message her, message me, message us both. We'll have a one-on-one discussion with you. The whole key is just to repeat what my wife said is, we are about what portraying and acting what we perceive as the truth, not the manipulated, diluted down hierarchy, patriarch of what society has morphed into belief in religion, and this is right and that's wrong, and if you meditate, then that means you're wrong. That's not a good thing. We want everybody to be on the same page if you're drawn to it. And that's the important part. So.
Right. So, in the forming of it, that's why we're structuring it the way that we are. Aside from the free sermons that we will be doing and teaching people, in that way we will be offering to take on students as well. We've got many of the people that are joining us as elders that want to teach, and really ultimately that's our goal, is to teach and have a strong arm of education within our church. All board approved courses and things that are going to be very good, helpful for humanity as a whole. The way we're structuring it is so far we have the 3 groups on Facebook. The Way is the free one. So if anybody's interested in learning more about the church, hearing the sermons, anything like that, that is our online meeting hall. Free to anybody, but a private group. So by invite only. But please do invite anybody that you think might be interested in hearing what we have to say. So I guess semi-private, but free. Anything that is posted in there will be free. We're not about sucking money out of people. However, it does, as Mother Teresa says, if you want to change the world, you're going to need a checkbook. So we do offer the courses for a tuition fee to anybody that's interested in being a student, learning more, and becoming a student with the church. And that is a yearly fee of $9.99 or a monthly fee of $99. And that basically will, at a base level, get you entrance into our group, The Truth, where you can start learning all of this stuff from our wonderful teachers that we're bringing on board. And the courses themselves will be an additional tuition per course, but you will have admission to this group, and you will get, we haven't exactly figured out the structure of that. We're working on it very rapidly here, but you'll also be getting a monthly box with materials. Sometimes it'll be course materials, sometimes it'll be crystals, oils, items to help in your spiritual journey. We're not sure exactly, but it'll be a decent value each month, things that will help you and have meaning. So that'll be included in that. And also, once you have paid the yearly membership, so either after you've been paying for a year, or if you pay the $9.99 up front, it will also include 2 nights that you can tag on to the end of a retreat that we're going to be holding on site, or even if you just want to come for like a weekend, but probably not till next spring. We have things a little bit more established, and everything's all legal and all of that. But it will include a couple of nights here in Minnesota. At this location to experience our retreat here on the lake at the Spirit Center at Crystal Lake. By spring, we intend to have, at the latest, we intend to be holding retreats here, which will be able to be virtual as well, but it's, will be for a higher price coming here, obviously, because we'll be providing accommodations and on-site.
In-person on-site.
In-person
is an additional
on-site
cost.
Is an additional cost, but we will also be offering our retreats virtually anytime that we're holding one. So no fears if funds are limited.
And we are going forward. We are in the early stages, so we are vehemently working very hard to fine-tune things each day so they're better for everybody. Again, the whole purpose is to help as many people as we can to learn, ascend, and grow. But like my wife says, the reality of it is if you want to change the world, you got to have a checkbook. That is the unfortunate reality of the world we live in. It does cost us money to do this. We try to absorb as much. We've absorbed 100% of it at this point.
Right. And before you continue, just so far, what we have as a couple, mostly Michael, obviously, financially invested into getting this organization going is obviously all the legal fees that we're covering to get all the paperwork filed and all of that. Our home here in Minnesota is converted to the Spirit Center at Crystal Lake. It will be it will be our home church, our home headquarters for our organization. We have purchased through being led by Spirit, the island cleared us a space on Kauai where we were in February for our retreat, which, again, never dreamed in a million years that we would be owning a home in Hawaii, but it's got a very important purpose as well. So I'm in the process of trying to get out of here and head out there so I can begin the complete renovation of the property there. It is completely, it needs a complete renovation. It's barely livable right now and really not actually livable. But that will be a place where I will be running a lot of my virtual classes out of, and eventually we will have guests there on a very limited basis for our very highest level students, and it's not. I'm good. We're, like I said, we're completely transparent. If your aim is to come out there and work with us one-on-one in Hawaii, it's not going to be cheap either spiritually or financially, because we have invested a lot and we're going to be investing a lot more into that. But this is going to be an arm of the church as well, a place where we can hold meditations and stuff like that as well. But primarily, it will be primarily our home. We're also about to close on a property in Mississippi that is going to be kind of the base camp, shall we say, for the organization. For people that are ready to kind of like jump in, all in, give up what they have to follow Spirit and follow their calling and change the world. It's at first, we're gonna, because we don't have the funds to be supporting people. It will be a self-sustaining community. If you want to be there, you're going to have to be in service to the organization. You're going to have to help with growing food. You're going to have to help with creating and selling crafts, fundraising, all of that to help support the organization. It's all part of it. This is all one big family, really. We don't want a hierarchy. We want a family. This is not a patriarchy or a matriarchy. It is a family.
Right. And the biggest thing I wanted to convey, the motivation is of $0. The motivation is to help, educate, teach, embrace,
and expand
and extend
and help
as many people as we can, as well as our organization. That being said, the unfortunate reality, there is a financial one. We try and do absorb as much as we can, but there will be aspects that do require money. A lot of the elders are very gifted that we have, and some of the higher courses that they are teaching is going to come with a cost. We try to make it as affordable for everybody as we possibly can. But the reality of it is
we gotta eat.
We gotta eat.
We all gotta eat. And if we're
if I could flip the bill for everything and not have to worry about it, I'd do it. But unfortunately, it takes a village.
The goal is for everybody that is in service to the organization, that the organization will be able to provide for them. And beyond the providing for them, that we also, then we take whatever additional proceeds we have and use that to expand and grow, purchase properties, build, help with homeless shelters eventually. But I'm mainly, like, as me personally, I've always wanted to be building shelters that not necessarily homeless, but families that are escaping domestic violence, and also shelters that allow animals, because many women, especially, and I'm not going to say just women, because there's a lot of men too that are stuck in very, very bad situations, but for the most part, women in our society get stuck into not being able to get a job because their husbands won't allow it, and then they're abused in their homes, and their children are exposed to all this stuff, and they have nowhere to go, and even if they do, they can't bring their animals that are also getting abused to our family. So I want to create those safe spaces for people that can get away and get on their feet again. That is a huge part of my mission. We have a personal mission on the islands to help out there because the development is just destroying the local culture. The United States government pretty much ganked those islands right from the Hawaiian people, and they never wanted to be a part of the U.S. They still don't.
It brings up a very valid, if there is any inquiry, it's not just a closed system of our congregation and our teachings. You know, we strive and want to expand with the outside. We want to contribute and make a huge difference in offerings to the communities
To help people. Right.
So it's not just, you know, hey, this is our organization, this is our group, this is our inner sanctum, this is what we're focusing on. We're focusing on the big picture. You know, we want to get to the point where we can help those that are in a trapped section of their life and they can't escape it. And we want to be able to provide a safe sanctuary for people like that. We want to be able to provide resources for the islands in Hawaii. I mean, there's many, 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 many aspects and directions we want to go in that fall within the community because it's the right thing.
And that's also part of the legalities. We are supposed to be community outreach. We're supposed to be helping in ways like that, helping the community, which we have always had every intention to do. So that's another reason why we're just getting licensed as a church.
It's not just to appease society. I mean, it's what we actually want to do. So, and that's the type of people we want surrounded in us.
Right.
You know?
On our board as members, you know, people that not just are looking for that inner healing, but then also are very compelled to help others. Because at our core, as light workers, that's what we do, right? And I think, yeah, so I mean, just in short, for those of us that are members of the church, that become members of the church, that are especially wanting to be on the board of elders, a big part of it is going to be the membership drive, especially right here in the beginning, bringing people in that you feel are like-minded, that want to be a part of this, and people that are willing to contribute, you know, their hearts, bodies, and souls to the mission, really. I mean, it's, you know, we get that people have a lot of shit going on. We don't expect everybody to just want to drop everything and join us, okay? We totally don't expect that. But just be dedicated in your heart to helping this grow. So you can, if you are stuck in a place where you just don't like your job or you're not sure where you're going and you do want to drop everything and join us, you can do that, you know?
We can accommodate the best we can and only improve going forward with the help of everybody getting involved.
We want to be able to help get everybody to be where they want to be, wherever that is, whatever that looks like for you, whatever paradise looks like for you. We want to show you how you can get there. And that's, you know, like I said, we don't claim to have all the answers, but we're doing pretty freaking good for ourselves, and we can show people how we did what we did, at the very least. you know?
Sometimes creating and helping somebody create their own paradise is maybe not dropping everything and being a part of our vision. Maybe it's part of just taking a couple classes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be heading up eventually courses in Mississippi on divine masculine. I mean, things we want to offer can change your life dramatically. If your life is that of your corporate job and your family, and you want to make the best so it balances out perfectly, we want to be able to offer things to help you obtain that. And that is, in the end, really the encompassing of what we're here to do. Is life does not have to be mundane. Life does not have to be, the grind, so to speak. We can make it all as beautiful as we choose to make it. And that is the whole point. So, we encourage everybody to bring forth ideas. We encourage, if you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to my wife, because we are only going to go in a direction that benefits. And we can only do that through our own determination, but also that with the help of those involved.
It takes a village.
It takes a village, and
I think a lot of I know everybody that we've talked to so far is really feeling that fire, that passion to just follow this calling, to just it's go time. It's everything's gotten to such a breaking point, and we're all ready for that change.
Everybody, my golden rule I used with my kids growing up was, I always tell them, positive things for positive people. It's very simple. We strive. Strive isn't even a strong enough word. We are very adamant about, we surround our personal life with positivity. There's absolutely zero room for drama and zero room for negative. But by manifesting that energy, guess what life gives you? Now, that's what we do. Now imagine when we bring 10 people together, 20 people together, that are all on that same page, that their whole life is about positive things for positive people. And you bring 10 people, 20 people, 30 people together under the same umbrella of that positive energy, it's only going to impact in a positive way. And that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it simple.
After 2 hours, keep it simple. All right, so I guess, this has been long enough, and We've gone through all of the major points, I think.
We weave through it on a windy road. Again, if there's anything particular anybody has questions on, I'll repeat myself again. Feel free, reach out to me, reach out to my wife. We're as transparent as you can get, and we just want everybody to at least have a generalized notion of, this is what it's about, this is where we were, this is where we're going, and this is what we are looking to obtain through everybody.
I would like to say, though, because a lot of people are going to be having the same questions, if you, rather than just private messaging us, if you could, post anonymously in the way, just post anonymously, ask your question. If you don't want to, post on the video, because we'll repost this in there. But a lot of people are going to be having the same questions that you are probably, and it's totally fine to ask the questions, and we'll answer to the best of our ability. But it would be nice if we could just answer one time in a place where
Right.
everybody could get that answer. So if you are going to private message me, I'm just going to put this out there that I will probably ask to screenshot. If I do answer you in private message, I will ask if I can screenshot that and post it in the group if it's something that I think that other people might be asking.
I think it's a good point. And not to say that we don't want to have conversation, but it's a lot easier to put it out there within the group.
Right.
And if you want to be anonymous about it, that's fine. But as we all know, going through learning in school, sometimes your question is the same question that 5 other people have.
Right.
And instead of being on our phone 5 different times, this way we can just answer it in the group, and everybody.
Right. And we're going to be directing everybody to the way to get all of the space information about. That's why we did this video. And we've been talking about doing this video forever. This was supposed to be just the practice video for the Board of Elders, but I'm too lazy. I don't want to do another one, quite frankly.
And we just winged it. So
we just winged it, but I think we've gone over all the major points of who we are, where we're coming from, why we're doing what we're doing. And really, all of this started coming together. I guess the only thing that I'd like to add is through my wonderful, beautiful friend Jennifer Raven, who I invited up here, her and her husband, for their honeymoon. And she saw what we had going on here, and she has sort of kind of spearheaded everything by connecting us with Wes, who is going to be our head, who is our head reverend up here in Minnesota now. And he's just got an amazing network of people that he's bringing on board. I have known several people for a long time that are coming on board as well. And everything just seems to be falling in place beautifully in divine timing, because now is the time. And I'm just so excited for each and every single one of you that are taking the time to watch this over 2 hours of video, and just share this energy with us and share this mission with us. And we really hope that it resonates with you, and that you know others that it might resonate with. Please feel free to invite them to the way. And we still have not finalized our paperwork for the Board of Elders, so we're nailing down exactly what those positions are, what they're going to be, and what they'll entail, and expectations, all of that. They will be lifetime appointments, not saying that you can't resign if it's not a good fit. But we'd like, before we put everything down legally, to make sure that this is really something that, we want the people on the Board of Elders that are really all in with making this vision come to life. So if you are all in, cool. We do want to hear from you more on that and making that a reality. If you're still on the fence, please stay in the way. Stay tuned for more information. Stay tuned for our sermons. And welcome to the New World Order.
I just want to, it's like my wife said, we, in no shape, way, or form, we are not any perception of people feeling forced or, but if you're called to do, like with the Board of Elders, we want things as simplistic as possible. If you're called to it, great. But if you're not sure, that's great too. We just want to make sure that everybody is doing what they feel they can and at the best of their abilities. And it's just a lot easier if someone wants to commit, we want you to commit, but if you hit a point in your life where you say, hey, you know what, I feel I'm going a separate way, all right, good for you. I hope everything works to your advantage.
Yeah, we're never going to be like
Right.
the Church of Scientology.
No.
I'm just going
So,
to put that out there. Like,
yeah.
we're not like you're in our organization or you're
Right.
evil. Like,
Right.
no.
So we just want everything as transparent and everybody on the same page, striving for the same thing. And we welcome anybody and everybody. And like my wife said, if you got friends that are interested, that have the same beliefs and line of thoughts, invite them.
And a huge part of it too is, especially as I really, really, really want to make a safe space for the alphabet mafia to practice their spirituality and feel accepted.
That's the big point. Yeah, it didn't get enough. We sort of brushed over it. We, as a whole, are welcoming and embracing of every aspect.
Love is love.
Love is love.
And we will perform weddings for
We
same-sex couples. We
love people. As
What-
long as your energy is love, that's what matters. And gender means nothing.
and that will not and judgment of any of that, it will not be tolerated
No.
within our community. You will not be welcome in our community if you are in any way intolerant of that, of anybody loving who they love and nobody is hurting anybody. You're not allowed to judge
Right.
and still be part of our
That'll be a
community.
big no-no. Yeah.
that is like
Yeah.
that's a big no-no, because
we're not.
we're very all-inclusive and accepting of everybody. It's just really, really, really the number one rule is don't be a dick. I'm just going to put that. Just don't be,
Don't
a,
be a
dick.
dick. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Life is easy. Love is easy. People make it hard. So
Right.
we don't want people that want to make things hard.
Right.
That's about it. So the Alphabet Mafia, please, we embrace it. We embrace it. It is a safe sanctuary
We
for
are
all. We are it. So
So, I mean, I don't want anybody to feel like we are
No.
separate or separating ourselves from
No.
the community.
So-
We are a part of that community as
Exactly.
well as many of our board of elders. So,
safe spot.
safe
Loved
spot
ones.
for all communities as long as you're just a loving individual. So, all right, I'm going to let you guys go and get on with your day. 2 hours, 22 minutes. Perfect. We
Yep.
love you all, and we will talk
Love
to
you.
you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good thing we did a quick chat, huh?